Good evening, and welcome back to the Pastor Study. In the first chapter of the book of John, there's a very interesting story. The disciples are finding Jesus, or rather he's finding them, is a bit more of the truth. And one of the early ones was a man by the name of Philip. Philip met Jesus, perceived him to be the Messiah. And then he goes and gets a good buddy of his by the name of Nathanael. He tells Nathanael, I found the one that the prophets have talked about. I found the one the scriptures have talked about. I found the Messiah. And he's from Nazareth. And Philip responds, and this is chapter 1, verse 46 of the book of John, can anything good come out of Nazareth? And Philip answered him and said, come and see. Come and see. In his book, A Gentle Thunder, one of my favorite authors, Max Lucado, writes this. Nathanael's question still lingers, even 2,000 years later. Can anything good come out of Nazareth? Come and see. Come and see the changed lives. The alcoholic who is now dry. The embittered now joyful. The shamed now forgiven. Marriages rebuilt. Orphans embraced. The imprisoned inspired. Come and see the pierced hand of God touch the most common heart, wipe the tear from the wrinkled face, and forgive the ugliest sin. Come and see. He avoids no seeker. He ignores no probe. He fears no search. Come and see. What Philip did was what we should be doing. Going to our friends, our family, our neighbors, and say, come and see. Well, what are we inviting them to? To church, to see a service? Nah. We need to invite them to the Messiah. And we do that simply by doing what Philip did with Nathanael, inviting them to come and see for themselves, experience what we've experienced. Now, to do that, we may have to sweeten the pot a little bit. Share with them what Jesus has done for us. A healing, a miracle, a provision, a wounded heart healed, a damaged soul repaired. Maybe remind them of what we were before we accepted Christ. Because I know without Jesus, I would be a very, very different person today. You see, when Jesus gave the disciples the Great Commission in Matthew chapter 28, go into all the world and preach the gospel. He wasn't expecting them to go to a seminary and get a master's degree in preaching. He wasn't expecting them to have a 4-point sermon or to pick up a box of Chick Tracts and carry them with him. They were simply being asked to share what they knew. They were simply being asked to share with other people what the Messiah had done for them. It's that simple. As the disciples traveled around the known world of that day, the Roman world mostly, and into Africa, they shared the resurrection because that's what they knew. They had seen Jesus die. They saw him buried, and then they saw him again. They experienced him. They touched him, and they were filled with the Spirit. They could genuinely say, come and see. I think that's what the Master expects us to do. To go to those whom we know that we've built some credibility with, some relationship with, and just simply say, come and see. Come and see the Master. If you don't know him, let me introduce you to him. Jesus, Fred. Fred, Jesus. And then share with Fred what we know of Jesus, what he's done in our lives. It really is that simple. Nathanael became one of the 12 as well. Because he did come and see. He liked what he saw. He liked how Jesus reached out and knew him. In fact, Jesus said, I knew you before you even knew about me. And in the same way, everyone that we bring to Jesus, he already knows. He has seen them. He knows them by name. He's simply waiting for them to recognize him, for them to come and see and experience him for themselves. I'll leave you with that thought as we leave the Pastor Study for the week, and I'll see you next week. Have a great week.